Assalamu alaikum. My name is Salim Siddiqui, and thanks for watching this continuing series on the hotconflict.com website, where we're continuing to talk. Yes, believe it or not, let's remind all of us, we're talking about the great Eid, the great day of great celebration for the Muslims, the Eid al-Akbar, or the Great Eid, or the Eid al-Adha, the Eid of sacrifice. And so we're talking about the process that Muslims all over the world, such as myself and my family, we gathered in our local communities here and prayed and gathered together with all our families and friends and believers in the Lord Most High, and bowed and prayed with our heads to the ground, celebrating the praises of the Lord, all of us towards the direction of Mecca, the holy house in the Arabian Peninsula, where Abraham and Ishmael built this house to worship the one true Lord. And we're talking about the importance of that celebration and why it is significant. And we're telling you a story in a way that you've never heard before. And so instead of going through all the disclaimers that I usually go through, let's just get straight to the material. I'm warning it's going to be strange, but let's just get straight to it. We have to start first with the fundamental. The fundamental that is always the fundamental is that La ilaha illallah. There's only one God. It's the fundamental that we've been keeping constant throughout the whole story. As strange as the story has gotten, there's been certain constants to understand the world around you. Now you're hearing the story of truth perhaps for the first time, so always focus on the fundamentals. And that will lead you to never be misguided from the truth of the light. Now we said there is only one God. God created the angels and God created the jinns. We've gone through some earlier explanations and it's about to become more relevant. As you know, if the story is going to continue as I've promised, it must get even more strange. But we've said that the Lord Most High created Adam, who is the most superior of all the races, and breathed to him the life of the soul. And Adam taught his children the same thing, the story of the truth, that he knew he was at war with another form of race that had been created by God earlier. Go back and listen to the story if you don't know what I'm talking about. But this is a war between light versus darkness, and that all of the sons of Adam live and then die, and we will be raised by the Lord, and our souls will be judged for eternity of everlasting life, as a reward or a punishment depending on our deeds or actions, and that all of this is the plan and will of God, and nothing is coincidental, and everything happens for a reason. And so if it is true that I am revealing to you by the will of God the first time in your language, the English language, in a method that you could hear and understand the story of the truth, that all of the parts of the story must fit, because this is the story of the truth from your Lord Most High, and God is the greatest planner of all things. And as we know, there are certain fundamentals that we keep. In our war between light versus darkness, there are always those who tell the truth about the Lord Most High, the light. And we said that the term Allah, or the God, is just an Arabic term for meaning the one and only God, the God of Adam and Eve and all of the prophets who bore the light that we set in the chain, and that your Lord is the greatest and most glorious of gods, high above anything that we can think of. He is above all of his creation in this universe, and every creature and living thing is created by God, and that because of that, none has the right to be worshipped except the Lord Most High. And we've gone through the story and telling the tale, and we've gotten to the point where we're talking about Islam and Muslims. And I said we don't want to get lost in the titles of groups in any political way, and so we have to understand the terminology. When someone says Muslim, it means somebody who understands the story of the truth and what the message of the Lord Most High is, and they're willing to submit themselves to that. And the person who understands this way of life here on this earth, that way is called Islam, and it's the same description for all of the bearers of the true light in the story. And we said that we must always focus on understanding the depth of the message, and that if I'm telling the story in the tale and you're willing to hear the sides, you're going to hear what only the most knowledgeable of scholars and greatest of monks and ascetics knew. And some of them taught some of their people in parts, and some of them might have had a glimmer of the light here and a glimmer of the light there. But you are getting something amazing here. So if you're listening, I'm telling you that it's about to get more strange and more beautiful. Now, we said we were going to explain, not that you should become a Muslim. Muslim is somebody who submits on their own. As we said, it's somebody who submits to the truth of the Lord. But we said that as all sons of Adam, this isn't a political fight between Muslims and any other group. Beyond that is this conversation. We're talking about the real reality of the whole planet. What we're calling Adam and his offspring, the human race. Because we said, in reality, we're realizing that there's something going on this planet and that we are not alone. But before we get too deep in the story and strange, let's continue to focus with where we are so that we can continue to see the story and make sure that all of it makes sense in its totality. And that is very important, as you'll hear when this story continues. So we said we know that there are these people now who call themselves Muslims, and they say that there is this new prophet. Now, we talked about some of the problems on the earth, and let's just recap real quickly what was happening. The children of Israel, who were still following the truth of the one Lord, had missed a noble sign in the arrival of Jesus, son of Mary. And Jesus, son of Mary, had taught his companions and true believers the truth of the light, but even then it started to get corrupt and darkness filled the lands. Some of them still believed in the light and understood the true meaning of God, but amongst many of the Christian peoples, they were lost, not even understanding La ilaha illallah, the first fundamental, that there's only one God, and Trinity and symbols and crosses and other signs and symbols that have always been in existence in time and are verifiable began to creep into the religion that Christ brought. As we said, the fundamentals are all the same. There is only one God. But we said if you're listening to the story, then we get to a dramatic point. We're in the chain of the story. We must get to a point where we have a final prophet. And the most clear indication of that is the fact that Jesus, son of Mary, ascended and told the true believers, as we said, that each of the tribes and people always had a knowledge of how the signs are to be understood and what to look for to see when a person comes to know that the message is true. And now I'm telling you something that only the great knowledgeable people have ever known. That if you're listening to this story and paying attention to everything that happened and all of the details, you should be able to read the signs for yourself. If you take the time to ponder all the things that I'm saying, as I said, all of the questions and all of the answers should come to you because I'm talking about the story of the truth of the real light. So let's go back to the specifics. We just got to the part where the Prophet Muhammed had ascended and returned and had been given the great blessings of the prayer. And let's go through and analyze some of the story and see how it makes sense. We are claiming that at this point, a final messenger must come. He must be someone that dispels all the misunderstandings of the past believers, so that the doubts in the Jews and the doubts in the Christians are made clear, and that the fundamentals should be established. So let's explain the parts of Islam that people already know. Well, we must start with the fundamental basic, and that is La ilaha illallah. There is only one God. But because we said something has dramatically changed on the earth, and that the Lord Most High is sending the final prophet of the sons of Adam in the chain, the first fundamental must be adjusted for the first time in human history. It must be known from this point on that we are sending the last prophet. And if you are to receive the truth of the word, all of the sons of Adam must know for sure what is the statement of those who bear the light, so that it is known and clear to all of them. We said the last people who got the messengership disagreed amongst each other over what? Who was the true last messenger? And so, a first fundamental has to be sent for the final messenger. The statement of faith must be made clear and known forever for all time and must never be lost. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is only one God, and Muhammad is his messenger. See, it needed to be made clear for all time. If the story is really coming to a conclusion, then that fundamental that we have kept true must be adjusted for the first time in all history. That there still is only one God, no one worthy of worship except for Allah, the God. And so that no one ever gets confused over the truth of the message, everyone must know on this planet forever that the last messenger, because he is the last, should be known by name and clearly identifiable. Muhammad is the messenger of God. Now, if you understand the statement of that faith, you might be able to see how it relates in the story. And it's a dramatic turning point for our species, the human race. Because we've said that the fundamentals can never change. And the fundamentals that the Prophet taught every Muslim is that there is only one God. There are angels made of the light. They have no free will. There are jinns. They're made of smokeless fire. From amongst them is Satan. He is a deceiver and he lies with the truth. Don't believe anything that he tells you. We are in a war of dark versus evil. There have been prophets from the beginning of time, from your father Adam, who first learned of this war. And there have been many prophets, and we believe in all of them who came with the truth of the light. And as the story goes, I am the last messenger. You will be, as all sons of Adam live, you will one day die. As the Lord Most High is the only one who gives life and takes life, we will be raised and judged, he taught them, and he described them as we told you what he had learned on his own ascension journey, the only time any man on the face of the earth, any of the sons of Adam, have ascended to the highest levels of the galaxy of the seven skies and gone to where the angels worship the Lord around the house up in the heavens. And he returned with the descriptions of heaven and hell and all that we have. And so we know very clearly that I've stated to you, these are the fundamentals of faith of a Muslim, and they have always been true, like all the fundamentals of every prophet that I've told you from the beginning of the story. So how come no one's told you that that is what a Muslim believes before? Could it be that you have been deceived about the very fundamentals of faith of someone who calls themselves Muslim? Forget about countries and politics. Let's stick to the story. The fundamentals, I am saying, as a Muslim, a believer in the one true Lord, there is no God other than the God. The one above the heavens, the Lord Most High, who created the universe and everything in it. There is only one God. And so that is the testament of faith of a Muslim, and added to it, to signify the importance of the final messenger, that Muhammad is the messenger of God. Let it never be forgotten on the earth, otherwise you will lose the truth of the light in the whole story of the chain. So what are the other forms of worship that we have said? Well, if the fundamentals of that are there, then the pillars of the faith that a Muslim is told should be what? Well, the first pillar, you are told again, don't forget the first pillar. It is even more important than anything else. It is what? Bear witness. Bear witness, O son of Adam. Bear witness, O descendant of Abraham. Bear witness, O people who have seen the truth of the light, that the prophet, seal of the messengers in the fundamentals of faith, bear witness and say, I bear witness that there is only one God, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. That's the first pillar. Again, a reiteration of so strong must be the message of that fundamental of faith in the story of the light, so that the story never gets lost. And that the final prophet is there, so that you can always go to find the truth of the light. But we have said after that there are other pillars. What were they again? Since we're talking about the story, they are prayer, fasting, giving money of your charity, and the great Hajj. So let's go over it quickly. Prayer. Well, we know that prayer was granted to us in the most noble time that any son of Adam has ever been blessed with, a time where the prophet went up, ascended to the 7 heavens of the outer universe, and returned back, showing very clearly that when you go through into the outer galaxies, especially if you go quickly, time changes and time warps and time morphs. It is an important concept that those of knowledge and science can bear witness to what I am addressing. As I said, the story of the truth of the light can never have any incorrect information. It is the truth. And so the prophet returned to the earth without any time travel, time passing here on the planet Earth. Actual time travel, and it can be explained in more detail in further parts of the story. But today we have to stick to the fundamentals, because it's going to get more strange, and the ideas of time travel will let people lose the light. Allah, the Lord Most High, is the most powerful. He is the one who, when he says be, it is. And so prayer was given. And what type of prayer? Well, if you study the method of the Muslims, you will know that the Muslims do the type of prayer, which is how? They bathe themselves and wash themselves in the water, the ablution. And here we have some problems, and people see that this is a fact that is well known, but it is a sign that what? Always of the people of the bearers of the light, they are always taught to bathe and purify themselves with water. So there you have that before the prayer. And then the prayer is always the same. We are the sons of Adam, slave to no man, beneath no man, equal in any way. We should never let our race be enslaved by anyone. Every man is born free, and we have the right to stand upright and be bearers of the truth, regardless of who you are, color, language, difference. Men, women, all children of Adam, their only greatness is in the truth of the light. And so no man is a slave, except that all of us are only slaves to the Lord Most High, the Creator, La ilaha illallah. So Muslims, by the sign, don't bow down or succumb to anyone except the Lord Most High. And when it comes to the Lord Most High, you don't act arrogant in your worship. You do what all bearers of the light know the truth. When they actually understand the Lord Most High, you get on your hands and knees and put your head in the ground and worship the Lord. He is the Lord Most High, not any fake god or moon god or any other lie or misconception that they have deceived you. Muslims say we are believers in the truth of the Lord Most High, the one who is described as the light. And so that is the description of prayer. All of the Muslims, all around the world, 5 times a day, bowing in humility, doing that which the Prophet taught them when he ascended to the highest heavens and spoke to the Lord. All of the Muslims praying in that way, reciting from the words of the Lord, but we'll get into that. On the ground, all of them facing towards the holy house in Mecca. The signs are there, so keep listening. What is the other pillar of faith? We said it is fasting, and this is something that is known to the West, but let's go through the story and see if it makes sense. That the Muslims are reminded of eating and enjoyment and sexual pleasures during the day, that from sunrise till sunset, as your Lord has set rotations in motion, you will not eat or drink from the morning till the night, to remember your Lord. And it is a blessing for you and a noble thing. And is there in this act of the Muslims that Muslims all over the world do to this day an obvious sign for anybody who is looking for the truth. And as I said, the story must go always forward and it must always go back. If this was what was assigned to the last messenger, it should be something that every Muslim continues to practice till the end of days and always swears by. And non-Muslims always don't understand how it is that Muslims can actually fast, but we do it because it was the commandment of the Lord. But if you look back in the story, you will see that just as they try to deceive you and tell you what this new thing called Islam is so different than what was before, and we're telling you the stories and the signs are all there for you of the truth of the fundamentals, that this prayer of fasting for 30 days was exactly what the bearer of light named Moses did before he went to go see his Lord. And if you don't understand what I mean in accepting the truth of the light that I'm telling you right now, that has always been called Islam, then go back and listen to the story of Moses and what happened and how beautiful it was that he was taught to fast. What is the next pillar of faith? We said that we've gone through the statement bearing witness because that is what must be done. There is only one God and Muhammed is his messenger. We pray to the Lord because he is the only one to pray to, and no man is slave to any other man. But we all humble ourselves before the Lord Most High. And we said that the next pillar of the Muslims in the rituals that they practice and worship the Lord that must be in existence was fasting, and we told you the reasons why. And then we told you that it is of the Muslims that they give of their wealth, of the bounty that the Lord gave you, that this earth is a blessing from the Lord Most High, and that you are maintainers of the earth. And so when you have any possessions or values of this thing, you should always spend it in the way of the Lord, and you must do so as a part of your faith to help all of those other men who are believers, to help them rise up in this situation so that all believers are in a better status. Well, we've been talking about the amazing thing, and we've been saying always remember the fundamentals, that we are only talking about the truth, the story of the truth of the light, and that this war that we are in is not some political war or jihad or anything else like you hear today. I told you, we're not talking about any of the nonsense that you might have heard. We're talking about the truth of the light. For once in your life, listen to this story. So we said the fundamentals are what? That the people are at war with light versus darkness. And of mankind there are believers in the light, and of mankind there are people who deny the light or have covered it up. And they deceive you and misdirect you, possibly with the help of some of the other interdimensional beings or jinns or alien races, Satan and his minions. And of the other races, there are believing and disbelieving members of the other races, and this should be made known to you, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. It is at this point that we're coming to one of the most important issues, and it is the final pillar of Islam. The final pillar of Islam is called the Hajj. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might have heard some things, but you're never going to hear them like this again. I'm going to tell you briefly what it means so that you understand the straight points clearly. But the meaning and the deepness of the truth of the light will only be made clear to you if you dare to listen on and open your mind to the truth. For as I've promised you, you will understand all and know everything by the end of this story. The final pillar of the Muslims, those who say we are believers in the Lord Most High, none should be worshipped but Him, we have been given the message of the truth, is another final pillar that, as we said, if it is true that this is the final prophet, then this pillar must be established for all time and always be remembered. and it should be such a clear pillar that tells the story beautifully. This pillar is called the Hajj. Now, unlike you've ever heard, I'm going to describe to you the functions. Well, some of you might know, of course, that Muslims all over the world go to Mecca for the annual pilgrimage. Now, here is an important part. It is done annually, every year, always, every year. It has been so since the time the Prophet taught it to us, and it will continue to be so till the end of days. This is a fundamental. What is this strange thing called the Hajj? It is comprised of certain rituals. Some of them you might have heard. Well, obviously you know that the Muslims go and there's that black house, and we've said that it is built by Abraham and Ishmael, and we've gone through the process of that being so important and why that was to happen. And we know that there are believers there who encircle the house of God. Encircle the house of God in a counterclockwise fashion. Believers in the light from all over the earth gather together in a beautiful way. But the process of the Hajj is a little bit more complex. There are rules and rituals and certain clothing, such as you might know that all the believers come wearing only just a white cloth. No fanciness, simpleness, pure white cloth on the bottom and a white cloth on the top for the men, and any simple clothing for the women, covering their dignity but being in the most humble way. What is the importance of that cloth? It is to suggest that we are the sons of Adam, and there is nothing great or dignified in us, no matter how wealthy you are or how poor you are, no matter what your status of nobility or lineage. All the sons of Adam are equal before the eyes of God. Because if the final message were to come, it should be about equality of all the sons of Adam, because we've always maintained this isn't a story about one group or any other group anymore. This is the end of the story. This is about the battle for our planet, as we've continued to understand. This is about the survival of the human race, greater than any other title or group's name or political party. And so believers in the light gather there, all saying we are just sons of Adam, bearing nothing but our bodies with a humble cloth, and they gather on their pilgrimage wearing only that. And they do certain rituals, such as going to the city of the Prophet and then returning to the city of Mecca. And you might have heard in the West that there is this process called stoning, where the Muslims throw pebbles. And you might have heard of some of the other things like the shaving of the head or the cutting or the cutting of the hair. And there are different rituals and the meanings of them can be explained. But one of the points of the story, so that we always understand the fundamentals, is that every part of the ritual must be connected so that the people who are claiming that we know the story of the truth of the light must be able to enact that in their rituals. So what is the process of throwing the stones that you hear in the West? Oh, the Muslims throw stones at the devil. Sounds really crazy. Well, it is not that Muslims are throwing stones at the devil. We know that the devil, Satan, the other race, the jinn who challenged Adam and all his offspring in this war, came to Abraham. When? When Abraham was going to sacrifice his son as God had commanded. Because remember, Abraham wanted rememberers of the Lord and bearers of the light to be on the earth. And God told Abraham to sacrifice his son. And Abraham, every time he was thinking of it, Satan came and whispered to him, and he threw a stone. That happened 3 times. And so Muslims do that very act in the acts of the Hajj. Ponder that and see if it connects. Please let me take a break.